Model Baarda consists of 8 roles. Each role describes a particular level of problem-solving capacity. In the lower roles, this capacity is relatively small, but it is large in the highest roles. It depends on how much connection an employee sees between variables, such as working environment, customers, systems, the market, and stakeholders. Therefore, whether an employee is at the right place or the work is too difficult and too complex depends on the problem-solving capacity that a job requires from an employee. Let's go through the roles. If the work is at the operational level, we can choose the role of assistant, which solves 0 problems, such as assembly line work. We can also choose for one level higher, where we find the general worker, who focuses on one single task and who prefers to work exactly following certain rules. Think of a crane operator, painter, tiler, security person, and receptionist. They are skilled workers, but not yet able to improvise in unexpected situations. This ability is found in an all-rounder. An all-rounder has practical insight into problems. He can anticipate, communicate with customers, and change his approach if necessary. This can, for example, be demanded from help desk employees, or from administrative staff, secretaries, planners, and technicians trained at an intermediate vocational level. However, the work can also be positioned at specialist level, because exceptional, unique problems are to be solved in a systematic way. Analytical ability is a prerequisite here. Think, for example, of an engineer, administrator, or software developer. However, personnel officers and communication consultants are specialists as well, if they are engaged in operational work. They often have completed training at higher vocational level, where they have learned the specific methods and skills of the profession. If the work is no longer operational but conceptual by nature, the job calls for a professional. Professionals focus on issues that first require an investigation of the context. Often these include stakeholders who also want to make sure that their own agendas are realized as well. At that moment, vision and persuasiveness are essential, and the professional cannot solely rely on his knowledge. For example, the purchaser who agrees on a lower price has to deal with operational issues. The purchaser is a specialist. A professional, on the other hand, is the manager who is given the task to reduce the business costs by 10%. He will only succeed in this if he can convincingly make clear how he wants to achieve this, and then additionally implements this policy. The generalist is one step higher again, and he is often regarded as business manager. The generalist is in charge and responsible for the foundations of his field of knowledge. These employees lead departments or change programs, or they are responsible for the innovation agenda of a company. Consequently, a good market orientation is indispensable at this level. Usually, generalists are scarce. This puts extra pressure on the level above the generalist, being that of the leader. A leader is often a director of an independent medium-sized company. He leads one product-market combination and manages the coherence between several various business processes, such as the operational process, ICT, HRM, and finances. Finally, the strategist leads a group of companies. The strategist manages the coherence between several, usually similar businesses. Mergers and takeovers are his sphere of activity. He closely monitors cultural, very long-term issues as well as the social developments. Model Baarda is applicable to any type of organization. Of course, in some situations, the lower or upper roles are not represented or a level is missing, for example because of the nature or the size of the company. However, the model can always be applied everywhere. It is universal. As has been said before, the lower 4 roles are of an operational nature, whereas the upper 4 roles require conceptual ability. Here, think of an iceberg. The part above the water is the visual, concrete part. This is what operational employees are engaged in. They produce or lead a production process. Expertise and skill will usually be sufficient. The part below the water contains the explanatory models. Why do we see what we see above the water? Under the surface, business processes must be implemented and be steered into the right direction, internally or at the customer's location. Here, issues are no longer concrete, but abstract. Skill will no longer be sufficient now. In fact, there is no single truth below the surface. More solutions are correct. Apart from expertise, vision is definitely essential here. There's also another way to look at the model. The lower three roles make up the routine organization. These are employees who like to work with ready-for-use systems, instruments, or tools. The work is less varied, and rules and procedures determine how the work is to be done. In knowledge-intensive organizations, the change organization is particularly important. This consists of the generalist, who is in control and responsible for the architecture, the professional who sets up the functional design of processes, systems, and instruments, and the specialist who implements, maintains, and manages these. The specialist is responsible for the incident management. The generalist thinks independently. A model is all the generalist has at his disposal, a fundamental model that provides inspiration and direction. Employees with the role of generalist are responsible for the distinctive capability. Therefore, they definitely need entrepreneurship and talent for business development. A professional is context sensitive and has the ability to bring together interests at a conceptual level. On the other hand, a specialist likes his tasks to be exactly specified. In this sense, the specialist depends on the visions of others who fulfill the roles above him. The generalist, professional, and specialist respectively answer the questions why, how, and what. The flexibility or the vitality of organization lies in the change organization. The strategic top is above the professional disciplines and bears the responsibility for the entire business model. We can now classify the jobs based on the roles. This is not all though. We must also determine where our employees are. This is what the learning pathway is for. The junior must still learn how to work independently. The meteor already has this ability, but he's still finding out which approach works best. In the core position, an employee masters the entire range, shows ownership of the assignment, and dares to call colleagues that he is dependent on to account with respect to the result. The senior is the authority, who is head and shoulders above his colleagues. Colleagues and policymakers naturally come to him or her. Here we see again how a learning curve runs from the dependence of the junior to the independence of the senior. This curve is determined by willpower and mentality. Practice has shown that a maximum of 20 to 30% of the people can eventually call themselves senior. In this way, every kind of work is associated with a role and a learning pathway. This framework is called a function matrix. The company-specific classification system is ready now. The function matrix can serve more purposes than just reward management. It is also a platform to which the other parts of the HR cycle can be connected, such as assessment, development, recruitment, and selection. This is what makes it unique.